All right, guys, Mr. Antonucci here, and in this video, I want to talk to you about how to factor a polynomial completely. Once you learn the different methods for factoring polynomials, often a question will be given to you where you have to use several of the methods together, and I'm going to kind of give you a strategy with this problem for how to do that. The first thing you always want to do is look to see if there is a GCF, a greatest common factor, among all of the terms. So if you look here, each of these terms contains a factor of x and a factor of 3. So we would start by factoring out a 3x. So if you take out a 3x, in parentheses, you would have x to the third minus x squared y minus 4x plus 4y. Okay, now after you do the GCF, you're typically going to have one of three options at that point, depending on how many terms you have. If you have 4 terms like we do here, you're going to want to try factor by grouping. If you have 3 terms, you're going to want to try factoring one of the methods we talked about with factoring trinomials. If you have 2 terms remaining, then you're going to want to see if it fits the form for difference of squares. Okay, in this case, we have 4 terms, so we're going to use factor by grouping. So we're going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms together and see what we can factor out of each of those. So I'm going to use a bracket here because I have to introduce some more parentheses. In the first group, I can factor out an x squared. So you'd have x squared times x minus y. In the second group, it looks like you should factor out a 4. But if you just factor out a 4, you'd have negative x plus y in the parentheses, which would present a problem because what you want in the second set of parentheses should match what's in the other set of parentheses. Thankfully, if you factor out a negative 4, that will change the signs on what's in the parentheses, and you'd have an x minus y. Now, each factor in parentheses is the same, so I can then factor that out. So you'd have 3x times x minus y times x squared minus 4. Now, a lot of students would stop at this step because they finished the factor by grouping, and that is true. However, even though we did that, you still have to look at the factors that are left over to see if there are any more factorable quantities. Now, if you look at the last one, x squared minus 4, that should stick out to you as a difference of squares. And I'm going to do that on the side up here. I'm just going to pull it out and do some sidebar work here. Remember, difference of squares has the form something squared, so x squared, minus something else squared. So 4 is a perfect square, so you can write it as 2 squared. Then that's going to factor as x minus 2 times x plus 2. All right, let me just box this off so we don't confuse it with anything else. Okay, close my parenthesis there. Now, I can write my entire completely factored form. So 3x times x minus y times x plus 2 times x minus 2. It doesn't matter if you write it as x plus 2, x minus 2, or x minus 2, then x plus 2, as long as one is plus and one is minus. Now, another thing that students sometimes forget is we factored out, let me switch that. We factored out a 3x for the GCF at the beginning, right here. Notice I carried it through each step until the end. A lot of times students will forget to do that part and lose a factor for their final answer. Don't forget to copy all the factors down. So this is our final answer here. And remember, you can always check it by multiplying and foiling all out, and you should end up with the original expression you were given to factor. All right, guys, hope that was helpful to you. If you have a problem that you'd like me to go over and make a video about, put it in the comments below, and maybe I'll make a video about it. Make sure you subscribe to the channels and hit the bell for notifications so that you know when I upload a new video. All right, guys, take care.